So when I pulled up Google News just a bit ago, I noticed that somewhere on Earth there's a supermoon tonight,
Oh yeah, there's one here.
and of course the headline is "Your last chance to see your supermoon in 2025." It's like, well, of course it's the
Of
last
course.
one. It's already December. We're not gonna have a blue moon in December, are we? That'd be really crazy.
Clickbait's out of control.
Oh no, you'll never see another super moon this year.
Oh, they're just talking. They just were like really. They must be like walking through something.
There's nothing interesting in the news right now. It's just like, oh no, that's not true. China's pushing for reusability milestone with their one of their launch vehicles.
Well, it's like between China and Japan, there's the attack on the stock market, but with all the um dumping, and then the fucking Chinese said that if America attacks Venezuela, then they'll step in. So I thought that was funny.
Oh boy. Meanwhile, there's like a universe of incredible technology out there that we just can't get.
Oh my God,
It's like not even hiding behind a paywall. It's like hiding behind glass and they're waving in front. It's like a carrot and a stick. Ah, these. Meanwhile, I read this morning that the president saw key cars in Japan and said, "Oh, those look nice. Why don't we have those? We need those." And so now he's trying to get the dot to figure out, can we even bring these things to America? And of course, the answer is
key
no.
cars. What you say? Key cars?
Yeah, the the super tiny cars in Japan.
Oh, I've never heard of them by that name. Or
Oh, they're the I know you've seen them. They're like the tiny boys that make a Honda Fit look big. Um,
oh, okay, okay. Sorry.
yeah. Um, but apparently he saw those things and said, "We need those." And they have to, but under the stipulation, they have to be manufactured in America. So that means that like Honda and Toyota and the other, well, they're the only ones with the resources to mobilize that kind of production. Of course, have to bring new tools and machines to America to build these super tiny cars after the market kicked really tiny vehicles out of the market.
Oh, so they're Japanese.
Yeah, we can't get those here. Well, you can. You can import them, and they're
Right,
right.
but then they'll be like
Yeah,
$40,000.
and they're right-hand drive, and they don't actually meet U.S. like safety requirements because they're super tiny. And they're pretty robust. I mean, I've seen some videos of them getting into accidents, and they look like they look survivable.
Well,
That's a
that's with other cars on their size, whereas
yeah,
America, we're dealing with fucking
big trucks and
everybody's
SUVs.
driving a tank. Yeah, their fat asses.
Apparently, Cybertrucks are like on the endangered list for insurability. Like they're
Oh yeah,
like
they were barely insurable the first year.
well, I was also reading about how like some of the bigger names like Geico and Progressive are no longer insuring Cybertrucks.
They weren't even legal to be sold in Europe at first.
Oh.
So
so so things that we can have that are gonna kill people versus tiny things that we can't have that would actually probably be pretty fucking good, but we
hmm
also are gonna kill people.
I mean, I think that at that point there would have to be like semi truck and SUV only highways. Like there's the capability, but it would take a lot more building where if your vehicle is above a certain size, it should only drive on certain roads.
Well,
Especially like
they could have a GPS transponder so that when the vehicle gets too close to roads that it's not authorized to be on, it starts like freaking out and flashing lights and like authorities have been mobilized. Please return to safer roads or some shit like that.
well, and aside from the fact that it's more dangerous for other drivers in other cars, it wears the roads out quicker. So this is one of those things where I never really thought about it as a kid or as a teenager, but the older I get, the more I'm like, especially when they're cutting corners on the blacktop, the roads are going to have to get paved more frequently with the bigger the vehicles that go over them, and it's the infrastructure is not keeping up with the auto culture. And on that note, the auto culture, for whatever, I mean, I know for whatever, I know the reason in that the the things that the culture pushes end up being about bigger size and bigger engine blocks, and those two things, companies can charge more without increasing their expenditures that much more on those specific things. And then the bells and whistles on top of that, where, I think it's like
I think there's like
an
there's a special tax like when vehicles get beyond like a certain width, like beyond 8 feet, they have a special there's a special tax bracket for that, and like a whole unique like insurance class for it because those are like going to put more wear and tear on roads.
oh,
And
for sure.
and I'm pretty sure that like the tax structure for fuel is different for diesel vehicles. I think they that like I'm pretty sure that those have like than like just regular gasoline. Mostly because, you know, usually it's gigantic vehicles that run on diesel, usually commercial vehicles, or vehicles being used in a commercial application. Because, I mean, what kind of I know that there's a lot of sense to be made or rationalization being made for like really tiny diesel vehicles, especially in markets where like diesel exists because that's what exists and gasoline infrastructure is not quite as expansive in those places. That makes sense to me, but we don't seem to be able to get diesel engines in America that are tiny because for whatever reason the manufacturers always have to fudge their numbers to make the tiny diesels, you know, pass because they're not trucks and they don't get the big pass on like, oh yeah, you guys can emit more because you're doing stuff. But we don't get those tiny cool engines. We don't get a lot of cool stuff. I read about like engine technology in other countries that's just like, why don't we have that? Like Ford has a whole hybrid Ranger, and it has like the power output of the turbo V6, but it has the fuel consumption of better than the four cylinder. Why don't we have that? That doesn't even it's not even an option.
Yeah, a lot of the stuff you find out that they have in other countries or other regions, it's infuriating.
Like
I
seriously,
mean,
they sell that engine package in South Africa, they sell it in Australia, they sell it in parts of Europe. Like why don't we have that?
mm,
That's like the coolest thing.
But then again, do we deserve that as Americans? You know what I mean? I
I
I
mean,
always like go back to that when there's this question of why we don't have something, because then it is like it's almost as if this country, if they find out something helps the earth or benefits the earth, they'll do the exact opposite. And
I mean, they're clearly missing the opportunity to market this as like, twice the impact. Not only do they have to create a combustion engine, but they also have to create an electric motor and battery structure for it. So it's like double whammy that will potentially last as long as a normal combustion engine, except it'll have like enhanced, electromagnetic capability. Like there's so many things that we these are like missed opportunities. I'm pretty sure that everyone who ever read any of Magneto's stories would love to have a vehicle that has an advanced like magnetron sitting inside, like right next to them, that they can direct in like in a very casual way to make their vehicle do cool stuff.
well, and that's where the hybrids are using a similar technology as F1 vehicles. Once I realized that, that's when I'm like, that's the selling point. But
Yeah.
Americans don't like F1. So, are you familiar with like the kinetic energy recovery system?
Oh yeah.
And that's basically what they put in hybrids. And so
Dude,
it's
I
like,
think the best way that I've ever heard it described is they figured out how to put the turbo boost like charge and like release feature from Need for Speed into a real car.
mm-hmm.
Like
And they just turn down the output ratio so it's efficient and not like
and manageable.
making you drive on the fucking edge of the
Yeah,
edge of the field of
and
your vision.
like I was reading how like Honda's implementation allowed drivers to like gather power like as they entered corners, and then essentially maintain like the power on the being delivered to the road, like the entire like a more consistent like power output, because the engine itself or the motor would supplement like gravitational losses. Like what the crap? That's definitely some space age stuff. I mean, anybody, I mean, I think we all just used the crap out of Turbo Button and Need for Speed back in the day.
Yeah. Well, but then the more the better I get at driving, the more I use brakes, and the less I'm not the less, but I don't use the turbo where it's gonna make me go off of the best racing line. In that the faster I get, the more I realize it's about braking at the proper time or coasting or whatever, whatever way you reduce the speed, and then
Just sometimes holding
accelerating.
speed.
Right, but accelerating out of the turn or out of the corners. And so you can't really do that. Like you can't really accelerate into the corners. And if you can't really accelerate through the corners, but if your entrance is great, you can accelerate at the peak of the exit before you're fully straight. And it's just you gain so much time, but a lot of that is coming into the corner correctly. And so once I started, I mean, and a lot of that comes down to the games you play, whether they're more simulation or arcade, because arcade's way more forgiving on that. Um,
Man, there's a
but
really
then,
good episode of Top Gear from like I guess the Clarkson era. I don't know which Stig it was, but they brought on some F1 drivers, and like the Stig did the line like he always does, and he's fast as hell on that course. But these F1 drivers, they all took this one corner differently, and they were all getting better times. And it was really interesting watching like the difference in like how different generations of racers were like applying, whatever they were learning from their cars or the teams that they have and the kind of telemetry they gather in their races. And that's the other thing that's always like just blown my mind is like the volumes of information that they're gathering like during modern racing, and then how they're able to turn that into you know actionable steps like within the course of that race. It's just incredible now. Like it's a whole different level of fine tuning is happening now because of technology and computers.
Yeah, and the kind of overlap is the simulation
Yeah,
because they get to do so many extra laps on sim rigs. It's like the best.
and the physical modeling is as real as it can get.
Oh, for sure. But the best racers do sim racing, and then they end up being the best in the sim racing world, where you think it's a natural overlap, but it's really two different things that complement each other, but they're very, very different. And in the process, it's like sim racers, a lot of them end up crossing over into real racing as they get towards the elite side of sim racing, but it's like it doesn't necessarily guarantee that somebody's going to cross over or do well when they cross over because there's just I think there's something about the willingness to actually risk your life in a car that sim racing just doesn't. Even if you have a full motion rig, it's not gonna. You're never gonna believe that your
I
life's at
mean,
risk.
is a full motion rig going to simulate like 2 G's of force around a corner at 120 miles
No,
an hour?
no.
Like that's another. There's a huge level of physicality involved in like driving real cars at speed that I'm sure that some people bodies react like to the visual stimulus, and I'm sure that haptic suits and like motion rigs can like get you kind of in the general vicinity, but there are some things that happen, I believe, at the extremes of performance that are just still we're not able to replicate that kind of experience, and I think that I think that's why flight simulation is a good thing, but it can never really prepare somebody for hitting a patch of really bad air and then dropping you know 80 feet. I mean, even as a passenger, I don't think anyone's actually prepared for like turbulence when all of a sudden everything shakes and then you're weightless and then you're not.
Right, and you have to keep your lunch down
Yeah.
while you keep your composure and try not to die. Which again, that's the exact type of thing where I can only imagine going through a curve at 4 or 5 Gs and trying to not hit a car next to you
Knowing that you can't decelerate below 120 miles an hour, otherwise you won't be
because there's a
producing
car
enough,
behind you.
and the downforce will go away, and then you'll go into the other
Right.
wall.
So all of those things where the virtual side just, it will never, like you said, no matter how good the rig, it's never going to reproduce that part of the lizard brain getting activated. So I think that's where that specific thing is where, there's only one Max Verstappen, and he's the pinnacle of F1 and sim racing. And then you get people who are like in his arena, but they're not necessarily like F1 racers. Like Jimmy Broadbent is like coming up the race circuit. He skipped a lot. Usually people start off in like karting and move up from there. Even if they're like adults, they might not go directly into like actual full on. automobiles before they start racing. So it's like seeing all those different trajectories to get to the pinnacle of each sport is where then you see like, yeah, some people can come out of physical racing and not actually ascend to the top of sim racing because it's just a different sport altogether. Um, and then I think the people who do sim racing and get hung up on the realism, it's like I feel like they're lying to themselves just because they want to make it seem like it's the same thing as real racing, but it doesn't need to be real racing to be any less cool. I think that's just
If you've never had a
people have
steak,
issues.
if you if you've never had if you've never had a real hamburger, like how would you know?
Right. I mean, and on that, like, even if you've had a steak, having salmon,
That's a whole different experience.
right? It doesn't like negate the quality of the steak, but then you could have some salmon that changes your life, and then it's like that's not what the steak didn't do that necessarily. So uh, it's hard in America where everything is monetized to also not get jaded about enjoying things and not like comparing experiences. But then that's where, I think as one gets older and gets better about appreciating things, then it's a lot easier to like enjoy experiences for what they are instead of trying to be like, I don't know, this steak wasn't as good as the one I had 3 months ago. Or this pizza wasn't as good as the one I got from the other place. Like, is it good or not? Are you enjoying it? Like, and for the sake of quality comparison, just to not feel like one is getting ripped off or like you're wasting your time or money, I get that for sure. But once it gets past a certain point, then it's like if it's if it's not bad, then it's good. And if it's good, how like was it not good enough? Like
What kind of spectrum is this good rating on? Apparently, there's a problem with the number of like AAA gaming titles that have been released in the last year, and that they're all pretty much the same because they're all built on an Unreal Engine. Like that's this unifying feature. Like all of the third-person games feel the same. All of the first-person games feel the same because all of the rendering is the same. And it's kind of interesting because it levels the field in this regard where like now the good stories emerge, but it also reveals just how many terrible stories exist within this gaming universe. I think this is just like an absolute like bonus. We all benefit from this kind of experience where all of a sudden like, oh yeah, there's only like 1 out of 8 games are actually good. If that, that's probably being really generous. It's probably more like 1 out of 16 or 17 games are actually good.
which doesn't matter when the volume of
Yeah,
games.
there's like 700 AAA titles out there that anyone can play at any moment. Like, if you don't like this one, try this one. Oh,
That-
you don't like your tune? Just get the SDK and like create your own tune and mod your shit like on your own. Like, learn how to do all that stuff, then sell it.
well, and we're also at this weird intersection of game software and hardware. So if you go back to a PC game that was made in maybe like 2011, between 2011 and 2014, because of the assets. If they unlocked it so that the frame rate wasn't locked at like 30 or whatever, let's say, then it's going to look pretty much like a modern game for
Yeah.
the most part. So I've gone back and like, there's a lot of stuff in my library that wasn't made in the last 5 years, let alone, you know, I almost never get the newest games just because they're almost always broken anymore. Like if it's a new release, you can pretty much be guaranteed it's gonna have a bunch of bugs. It's not gonna be optimized, and then it might not even work for you the first day. So
I like old games because when it says like the suggested hardware requirements and it's got some like, you know, 970, like a GTX 970 or I don't even know what the ATI card would have been for that era, you know, or you know, just stuff that's like ancient now. Stuff that only needs like 2 GB of memory. Like, that stuff runs great. You can load the entire game into your GPU in some cases, and then all of a sudden you have this liquid smooth experience with no artifacts and no tearing because that game was made for an environment that couldn't even have imagined 4K. That stuff's amazing. Like some games are so fluid, even on older systems. Like, yeah, like you were saying, optimization, but optimization plus like next generation, now a generation or two behind hardware is like still an incredible experience.
I mean, and to that point, I want to say that photorealism doesn't add anything to games, and I think that's hard for people to accept. But if you look at photorealism in games, it kind of peaked in 2019, and then it's basically just a matter of hardware since then. And it's like, yeah, Unreal 5 is next
Crisis
level.
was released in 2007.
But on that note, I don't think the Unreal 5 is doing anything that time and dedication couldn't overcome in Unreal 4. And so this is where I'm looking at a lot of the games that,
I think it just made it easier.
oh, for sure. And on that note, it it then just made people more clinical about the realism, that then the things that they were clinical about don't add to the gameplay. Like, oh, if you dive in water, your fucking clothes dry off too fast or something. And it's like, okay, I guess that's, I don't think it's important, but I guess that's that's an effect.
How the hell is the haptic suit supposed to simulate that? Is it supposed to just feel heavy?
I mean, and that's, yeah. On that note, this is where I also think there's like a level of immersion past which, like, the full suit is, there's gonna be something about it that isn't predictable, and it would break immersion. Like after, say, like 10 minutes or so of act, like let's say you have a full-on Ready Player One haptic feedback VR, you're doing full motion walking through. Well, after about 10 minutes, you're going to start sweating. And I don't know what the full body version of swamp ass is, but it's going to stink after about 10 minutes. Let alone you can't stand there for like 8 hours. No, not like moving around.
As soon
No,
as
not with your.
anyone in one of those battle royale games finds out that somebody on the in the arena has a full haptic suit, they're gonna start taking sniper nut shots.
Right. Yeah, I
That's gonna
mean,
be like the next wave. It's not gonna be headshots. It's gonna be ball taps. They're not gonna be enough to like really hurt anyone, but it's gonna be enough that people are gonna like. They're gonna know. They're gonna feel it.
man, and that's where, when I first started sim racing, my back was hurting, my legs were hurting, my calves were hurt, my arms were it's not easy to do full immersive gaming. In fact, it's really exhausting the more immersive the experience. And I think that's something that people who fantasize about these things take for granted because they don't actually do a lot of activity anyway, let alone like virtual reality where you're actually moving your arms
Man,
or
I was playing Project Wingman, and I was trying to take out this. I don't even know what it was, but it was really maneuverable. And so I'm like looking around the side. And next thing I know, I'm falling out of my chair. Like I just I kept looking, and the aircraft kept turning, but you know my body kept going, and I did not have anywhere to go except down. It was wild. I never thought that I would like fall out of the chair playing a flying game. I never thought that I needed a seatbelt to play a video game either.
yeah, I mean, I don't know how long have you been VR gaming?
Like maybe a month. I was just
And what's the longest session you've done?
uh just a little bit shy of an hour.
An hour? Okay. So on that note, one of the things I learned after doing, VR boxing and VR gaming of other types is like, yeah, you can't really sweat in those things without it damaging the headset in some way, whether it's the padding is going to wear out or the sweat is actually going to seep into the electronics
Oh, I
and,
definitely
and
had a
damage
headset
them.
ring around my face because I had that thing clamped onto me.
Yeah, and those are the types of issues where you see it on the headset, let alone the like I said, the more immersive that type of setup, the more it's going to be exhaustive on the actual body and vice versa for the body stressing out the parts. Like I straight up broke my VR headset from using it too much. And that's, it seems obvious in the sense of mechanical or electronic things having thermodynamic wear on them. It's like, yeah, heating and cooling is going to eventually cause cracks somewhere. But it's it's once you make it real, then you realize like, oh shit, this is why it's better to get higher quality things, not necessarily more expensive, but the more thermodynamic resistant something because you're getting a better quality thing, whether it's to resist friction or to resist um like pressure from like pushing buttons or whatever. It's like, yeah, it's usually worth it to get the better quality thing because it's gonna break down, so you might as well have it break down as late as possible.
Yeah. No,
Well,
that's one of those like unfortunate realities of computing is that yeah, you can. save some money on some things, and maybe you can increase some voltage and temp and play with fire, and you might get some improved performance like somewhere. But you could also have just spent that time, or spent a little bit more time, and got the right stuff that gets the performance you want, because it's designed to do that. I, I
And
I get it. Overclocking is fun because all of a sudden you got like some middling processor that's just like, yeah, I can do this stuff kind of. It sucks, to this thing that's like, oh man, let's go, woo! And it's like the sports bro version of that processor, and that's actually really cool. But you really got to cook stuff to do that.
mm-hmm.
Like
I
really,
I was I was really into overclocking at first, and then once I realized that yes, it does in fact make your hardware unstable, then I'm like, I think I necessarily need that extra little bit of juice. Like I think it's fine. I got pretty good hardware. Um, it's fine where it's at. Like if I get a longer life out of it, those extra 2 frames are not worth a shorter lifespan to me. But I think it was actually actually seeing that the ones that I didn't overclock, the hardware that I didn't overclock outlasted the hardware that I did by a significant amount of time. That's where I'm just like,
and was able to perform consistently the entire time,
yeah.
which is crazy because I'm pretty sure that we've all seen like that gaming rig where like some games that were frame locked all of a sudden were like on super ultra mega like turbo mode, and it was cool, but those things never lasted. There's always something real wild that was about to happen, and then it would freeze or work great for like a month, and then it would stop working.
Well, it's crazy how many cycles we've been through as a show, in that when we were giving advice to the audience to buy like hardware, that was literally the best time ever to buy. And now, because of the AI hardware hoarding, and additionally companies shifting gears, now RAM is about to be super expensive too. And it's like, I all of the hardware I have basically paid for itself during crypto, but now because of the market, it's basically doubled in value from like just existing, where I'm like, it was at one point it was like $10,000 worth of machines, and now it's basically like $30,000 worth of machines that they get their we use them the way they're meant to be used, so it's not like just sitting, but we use them in a way that's also not going to destroy them, and we maintain them. So there's a lot of people who haven't maintained their machines, so they don't retain the same amount of value, let alone gain value in hardware. But then, like, on that same note, then I'm like, knowing how much work I've had to put into maintaining the cleanliness of my machine, the fucking AI data centers have no chance. They
Dude,
have no. They're not gonna beat dust.
so like my mind was all GPUs, and you had a bunch of ASICs, but like even my mind was like running a micro data center or co-location facility, or just server farm, and it was a regular thing. It was it was its own weird job. It's like consuming job. Like I can't even imagine like
So much
the kind
time.
of
It takes
maintenance that your
so
rig
much
had. Like,
time.
I'm serious. Like, and we didn't even burn out the things that everyone else seemed to be burning. We burned out power supplies. That's what we ate was power supplies. But motherboards, they were fine. The GPUs, they ran like rock steady because we weren't trying to tax them. We weren't doing anything like that. We were just running them nonstop. The most taxing thing that we did to those things was power cycling them for updates, which were like every day practically, which is crazy. I'm actually kind of glad that that period is over and everything that's worth anything is proof of stake now, because it kind of relieved the the fun GPU market a little bit. But when I look at the stuff like the really high end, like their GPUs with like pushing 100 gigabytes of RAM. What in the holy crap? What's going on? Like I get it. They're like
Well,
physical models need that stuff. I guess AI needs that stuff, but like what? I think it's like
yeah, it's
92 gigabytes. Nvidia makes a 90 something. I gotta look it up now. It's obscene.
all of their processing is bloated, and it's mainly because their models are trying to do too much, and on that they're not going to be able to do individual endeavors to their pinnacle regardless. So they're chasing this, they're trying to attain a singularity or um general intelligence in any they'll take general intelligence in any field because they realize that specialization matters now, and it's too late to go back on their models. But now what's the name, Sam Altman has declared code red because Google's Gemini model caught up to OpenAI. So it's like, oh, and then also the head of IBM basically did the math publicly. This is the issue. People can do the math privately and nobody gives a fuck. But once somebody does the math publicly and the math is correct, then it can't be undone publicly. So once the head of IBM comes out,
96 RTX Pro 6000 Blackwell Workstation Edition. 96 gigabytes of DDR7 RAM with error
Jesus,
correcting code. 600 watts. That's it.
only 600 watts per. That's like double what my entire machine uses right now. I have an 800-watt GPU, but it never peaks above 300. It only goes like 285 at the most.
My
At one.
workstation has like a 925 watt power supply. And yeah, the 3060 card that I have never gets close to full power, like ever.
Oh yeah, there's no way a 3060 would even
Like
come
ever.
close to
It
tech.
it
Yeah.
never it like actually no. About 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, there was this like 3 or 4 day period that followed a Microsoft bullshit that everything kind of slowed down real hard, and then Nvidia released an update. Pretty sure that's like the future. Is they had some weird agreement not too long ago too, which is weird. They're gonna like start integrating Nvidia technology into their stuff, and now there are more problems. It's actually it's kind of interesting on the other side. I was looking into SteamOS because it's supposed to do all of the translation through Proton and run all the games that you care about, but in like sitting on top of, I think it's Arch, and so I'm looking into that, and it looks real straightforward. It's like got a pretty much an unattended install, and then I get to the requirements, and it's like, oh, this thing doesn't work with NVIDIA hardware. So
Of course not.
whatever AMD's leadership did, like they landed Steam. They got the Steam team to optimize, to really optimize for AMD. That's super cool. I think that tells me everything I need to know about like the next gaming computer that I have.
Yeah, I think I'm definitely if I mean whenever I get a GPU next, it's definitely going to be AMD and not Nvidia.
Yeah.
Um, Man, I
Like
hate Nvidia so much now.
even if you were willing to spend like the Nvidia money, you can get like, you know, maybe a 60% increase in performance with comparable like AMD stuff at the same price point. It's nuts. Like they just pack the features in right now. I'm not even trying to stand for AMD. I don't have any of their products, but
No, exactly.
every time I look at this at the comparisons, it's like,
I just hate Nvidia so much.
well, I don't hate Nvidia. I don't really
I
like
do.
Nvidia.
I do. In that it's one of those things where selling something and then removing functionality on the customers that you sold it to, and then going to the top of the market and patting yourself on the back. Like, no, I fucking hate them. I actively hate them. They did the same shit that Bose did, and being stuck in their ecosystem, it makes me mad at myself for getting stuck in an ecosystem because they did not have this ecosystem the way that it was at first, and then they imposed it retroactively. And so when the shit I have doesn't work the same, not because the hardware has degraded, but because
Whatever bullshit they're foisting on us.
and they've actually removed functionality, that's where I'm like, it's no longer a neutral relationship. I've moved past neutral into like, no, I hate the way that your company operates. I hate the way that your fucking CEO dresses. I hate that stupid fucking leather jacket he wears. Don't ride a fucking motorcycle. I know his ass don't ride a motorcycle. I know he doesn't. So fucking stop wearing that goddamn jacket.
He rides in the backseat of a Hyundai, probably, or a
Right? He don't
Genesis.
drive himself anywhere,
No.
let alone ride a fucking motorcycle. Take that shit off,
Yeah,
dick.
I don't really feel one way or another about it. I started to look at the games that I play, and none of them are like you have to use Nvidia's stuff. And I started looking at like the titles that are actually able to benefit from whatever advanced technology Nvidia is packing into stuff that they're promising is going to do things. I don't play any of those games, like at all. I don't even know what they are. That's the weird part. Is like I go and look at that list of games and it's like I don't recognize any of this shit. Who's this for? Like teenagers? Like I'm clearly not the market because I'm not being marketed this stuff. And then I look at like I said, like the software that I do like to use. That stuff doesn't care. It doesn't even take advantage of those special features. Turns out that story-driven games don't really rely on a lot of that stuff. Like, and the ones that have it, a lot of that stuff is interpolated by the GPU.
Well, and the cutscenes are, even if they're rendered in real time, they don't need a lot of CPU, so it can really use the GPU and not bog down your computer, so you don't really notice uh, unless you have, like, as long as you have at least a 1080, you're not gonna have any problems in modern games if you just run it at the right specs. And I think that's like, this is what I'm getting at, where I mean, like, design peaked and photorealism didn't add anything. So then you can run it at fucking 1080p and still have a good time because you don't need to see like every detail of a fucking puddle in the background,
And I'm not
which
even
is, it could
looking
be
at
cool.
but that's for people who are watching somebody play. Like,
Right, for sure. And for sure, but if you want to stream and you want people
oh,
to
that's
sit there
true.
and watch you play, Absolutely, I get that. But as someone, for example, when I'm playing like a sim racing game, I don't care how many of the branches on the tree I can
Do you
see or
need to
how
be
many
able
of
to
the
tell
fucking
if the
leaves.
squirrel on the side of the road is male or female?
I
Do
don't.
you need
And
to
I,
know how
you
many
know,
coconuts that sparrow's carrying? Because it's not carrying any.
I've noticed in the F1 game, like some of the people in the, like when I watch my playback, I'll notice people in the crowd are like checking their watches, and some people are like turning around, putting their hands in their pocket, and they're moving. I don't see any of that shit when I'm driving. None of it. Not one fucking bit. And it's like it's cool to then go back and watch it and be like, oh, this is so much detail. Like, you know, when you drive into the pit lane, you can see the pit crew changing the tires and shit. I don't see that shit when I'm driving either. None of it. Like it your shit is moving so fast that you really can only focus on one part of the screen. So like the details on 60 to 80% of the screen don't really matter while you're playing. And if people are honest with themselves, they would realize that part. But yeah, if you want other people to watch, then yeah, I guess that's important.
Oh,
But
so F122, Pit Stop Challenge, Speed Crew, and Pit Stop. These are 4 titles that are all racing game pit stop games. What do they do? Hit like 5 keys and then that's it? That's like a quick draw game. What the? Oh, no, no. These are actually like, they want you to perform maintenance on cars.
right, but then F1 pit stops are like 3 seconds.
Yeah, I know. Like, what the? What the? No, I'm serious. Like, what are they gonna do? Mash a group of keys on their keyboard and then hit enter? Is that it? Is that the game? Then they gotta wait for like 7 or 8 minutes and do it again.
But then people want to simulate everything.
I,
So
I wonder if there's a.
I'm not at the end of the day, I'm not really surprised that there's a pit crew simulator because then there's the F1 team manager simulator where you like don't do any of
Oh
that shit and
man.
you just
So
manage the team.
let's see. Gas station simulator, midnight shift, shift at midnight, gas station Inc., late night gas station. These are all various simulators.
Right? It's like but somebody I guess if somebody enjoys themselves doing that, good for them. I don't, you know.
Okay, Roadside Research is a co-op game where players are aliens disguised as gas station attendants preparing for an invasion while performing mundane tasks. That's kind of funny. That's actually kind of funny.
Yeah.
But the other 3 of them are not. They don't have anything. It's just like manage a rundown gas station, handle customers, clean the store during the late shift. Like,
Have you played Control?
I tried to play Control and I did not. I didn't give it enough time. I probably.
Oh my God. So I don't know if you give it another chance with better hardware, especially now that it's optimized too. I just played. It's been a couple months then, but I played through it for a second time recently with the DLC. Um, how do I say this without spoiling it? Um, there's an entire episode in that game that's all it's like about how mundane work is like a nightmare, but they do it so well because you're the person living through it where I'm like it's it's not mundane when you experience it because it's in the context of what feels like a nightmare experience. So there is it's like it's slightly terrifying, and there's in the way that control is not just because of the name of the game, but in that I've played through twice and I still don't really know what's going on in a way where the one thing I do understand is that the game is about trying to regain control, and then the semblance of that control, knowing that it's always on the verge of something cataclysmic and catastrophic happening to remove that semblance of control. And so knowing that that also is like part of why doing mundane tasks feels so overwhelming in the mundane aspect. It's like because deep down, if you really had control, you wouldn't be doing that thing. And there's something very powerful about that framing in the context of a video game where you're like, if you're not expecting it, I think it can be very powerful, but also because those things are minimized in regular life, because they are mundane by proxy, then it becomes, I think, more difficult to see.
Holy crap! I've got
How
115
impactful
games on Galaxy of Games. How the,
you said you have 115.
I have 115 games. I just keep claiming games off of Prime's free
Oh
game
yeah,
thing.
they give you a lot.
Let's see, where is it? It's here somewhere. Oh, that's something probably on page 2.
Might be on Epic too.
Okay, I've got it. Let me see if I've got it on Epic too. That'd be kind of funny if I've got it.
But yeah, it's Alan Wake and Control take place in the same universe. And Alan Wake really got me into David Lynch, and David Lynch really got me back into Alan Wake and the Control universe by proxy. So I don't know if you ever watched any David Lynch stuff at all, um, but the Alan Wake universe and David Lynch stuff go hand in hand. Like Alan Wake is directly referential to Twin Peaks, um, but then it becomes its own well done universe that then has a shitload of lore and a shitload of different types of games with inside of it. So I could not suggest any more, like, especially as like first player or one like single player experiences. The storylines are really good, but then the gameplay is really good as well. um
Man, I could probably stop collecting games right now and not run out of games.
right. Yeah, I have games in my collection. I still, I have Jedi Survivor. I'm maybe 2 hours into that because it's not optimized though.
Yeah, well, when games suck.
I have too many hours to refund it. Um, but for whatever reason, it's like I'm not gonna finish it now. That's like a lot of games in my library. I mean, and then some of them I don't want to finish them too fast either. Like Alan Wake 2, I want to enjoy the fuck out of that game and make it last as long as possible. So I'm like, I haven't I haven't gone back to it in a while.
I've only got 15 games on Steam, but I've got like also got like 3 or 4.5 pages of games on Epic. I wonder what I've got on EA. I think I've only got like 3 games on EA. I know I've got a bunch of Windows games, or Microsoft games, but I don't know how to get to them. Electronic Arts is going to make me go through a bunch of hoops to sign in.
But yeah, I encourage people to buy older games. Get them on sale too, for that matter, because there's always like if you want a game and you just wait for a fucking sale, it's gonna go on sale, or you can find a key. Um,
I
Key sites are
I,
pretty
I
pretty
recently decided to play Halo Spartan Assault, which is like a top-down third person view type thing, fourth person view.
fourth person.
It was like, I think it was 70 cents.
Hmm.
You know, for less than $1, I can get quite a bit of entertainment out of something like that. And I don't have high expectations. I don't expect it to be like actual Halo. I just expect to have a little bit of fun and blast stuff because it's basically a brawler. It's Halo with a brawler like skin, and a lot of like just running around in circles and mashing keys. Like it's just like the most fun version of a stupid shoot 'em game. Actually, it has a lot in common with like Gauntlet, except it looks like Halo. I think that's actually kind of cool. That's one of those games that like doesn't take advantage of all the latest anything, but it has a story.
I don't usually play those types of games, but when I do, I end up having a lot of fun. Um,
It's because they're fun games. It's stupid.
yeah, yeah,
Games
yeah.
don't have to be like smart. They can just be like big dumb maps where you just go around trashing the place. And that's like
But I think. Oh, so go ahead.
no, go ahead.
I mean, I think in my mind, I want to play a third person, super modern, photorealistic game, but then I'll play something like that, is top down, isometric, not really super photorealistic, and I'll still have fun. And then remember that, like, oh yeah, everything doesn't have to be that. Which is like, it's super easy to forget.
Exceptional